Hey everyone, we're back at another park in the Busch Gardens family. We are at SeaWorld Orlando. This time of year, much like the Busch Gardens Park, SeaWorld Orlando is doing their Howl-o-Scream event. They are one of the newest Howl-o-Scream events. This is their 5th annual event, and they have things all around the park to let you know that it's the 5th annual. So unfortunately, we don't have time to attend the actual event this year. That's a shame. I really would love to, but we are still going to take a look in the daytime at the scare zones and haunted houses they have here, so you can get an idea of what they're offering. They also have a nice selection of Howl-o-Scream themed food, which is something that Busch Gardens Williamsburg doesn't typically have, so it's actually really good to see that. We're really excited to check that out. Also, there are a couple of features in the park that we wanted to highlight quickly, including a brand new ride. So, without further ado, let's get in the park and check out everything. Here's a look at the Howl-o-Scream event map. They have 5 haunted houses. 1 and 2 are together down there. 3 and 4 are just above. And then 5 is by its lonesome on the left. And then they also have 6 scare zones. A down on the far bottom right, and B right above that. And then continuing around the lake, C, D, and then E, and then F wraps up by Pipeline. The haunted houses are Collector's Curse, number 1, Graveyard, number 2, the Water's Edge Wellness Center, number 3, Farm 51, number 4, and the Widow's Nest, number 5. Scare zones are Ashes of the Forgotten for A, Bloodlust District for B, Wood Rot Hollow for C, Trailer Park Tragedy for D, Cannibal Harbor for E, and Echoes in the Glass for F. In particular, Ashes of the Forgotten and Bloodlust District, both of them, this area where they are in between Pipeline and Icebreaker is closed off during daylight hours, so we unfortunately are not going to be able to get anywhere near these 2 scare zones. So sorry we can't bring that to you, but just to make you aware, during the day you will not be able to see any of these 2 scare zones, just only during Howl-o-Scream. The SeaWorld Orlando website describes the all-new Ashes of the Forgotten Scare Zone as, where smoke rises, havoc reigns. Among the blackened bones of this abandoned scrapyard, shadows flicker with the whispers of the nightmare citizens, disfigured souls who clawed their way out of ruin and now serve only one master, havoc. Twisted metal groans beneath scorched boots, and the air hangs thick with smoke, ash, and screams that never die. Step into the fire, where the forgotten burn, and fear is reborn. And the SeaWorld Orlando website describes Bloodlight District as, step into the seductive shadows of the Bloodlight District, where temptation drips from every corner and danger hides behind every alluring glance. Beneath the glow of crimson lights, vampires prowl the cobblestone streets, luring victims with irresistible charm and a thirst that can't be quenched. In this sultry scare zone, beauty is a trap, and you're walking straight into it. Right across from the Artisans Hall near the front of the park, they have a Howl-o-Scream 5 Years of Fear upgrade booth. At least I believe that's what this is. It's not open at the moment, so I'm not 100% sure, but they do have an advertisement out in front of it advertising the evil upgrades. You can get a food lanyard, 1 food item and 3 drinks for $45, or 2 food items and 5 drinks for $75. It's an interesting concept to include food and drinks separately. Busch Gardens Williamsburg doesn't do anything even remotely close to this, so it's kind of interesting to see SeaWorld do this. They also have the Frontline Fear passes to skip lines starting at $79.99, and they also have Front of the Line Fear Extreme starting at $99.99, which gives you skip the line passes to some of the rides and front row access to Monster Stomp in addition to all the houses. The backdrop of this is also really cool looking. A lot of Halloween-y things, including a jackalope head on the wall. There is a little walkway that goes right up on the body of water that is the center of the park. Piece of that walkway, the piece closest to the front of the park, is turned into the scare zone Cannibal Harbor. So in the daytime they have a bunch of crates and nets as if they're fishermen. Makes sense with it being a harbor. This kind of looks like a giant crab trap, which is kind of neat. The area itself is pretty tiny, but the look of the scenery is really cool. It really fits the theme well. It actually continues a little bit after you cross under the crab trap. They have another sign for it. They have this little bait shop, which is kind of cool here too. Nice little facade. According to the SeaWorld Orlando website, Cannibal Harbor is described as, "Welcome back to Cannibal Harbor, a decaying port where the fog never lifts, and neither does the hunger. Twisted by a dark curse, the fishermen here no longer haul in fish, they hunt the living. Dare to wander these haunted docks, but be warned, in Cannibal Harbor, you're either predator or prey." On the side of the Seafire Grill, there is a bar known as the Flamecraft Bar. So we're going to spotlight this bar today and check it out. Here's a look at the Flamecraft Bar menu. Because it's a bar, it obviously has alcoholic beverages, some cocktails. They also have some beers, domestic, imported, craft that aren't mentioned on this menu. But most importantly, they have bar snacks, which I think is where we're going to order from today. So from the Flamecraft Bar, we got the sampler. Has some quesadillas that come with some sour cream, some nachos that have nacho cheese and sour cream already on top of them. Also, they have a side of salsa, and they have some buffalo wings with celery. It looks like they have 4 wings. Is it 4? The wings also come with a cup of blue cheese and a packet of ranch, so whichever you prefer with your wings, you have your choice. So first of all, the chicken wings, they were pretty standard chicken wings. The buffalo sauce on there, on a scale of 1 to 10 for heat, I'd say they're probably about a 7. So they're pretty up there, especially for a theme park. They're not the hottest thing ever, but they have a nice kick to them. The nachos are also pretty standard nachos, but the cheese and the sour cream together, as well as the beef on top, I didn't mention earlier, there is beef on these nachos. It's a really good flavor combination. The chips are good, but I'm pretty sure they're not house made, so if that's important to you, you may not enjoy them that much. The quesadillas, which have chicken inside of them, the idea of giving you both sour cream and the pico de gallo, which I called salsa earlier, but I think it's actually pico de gallo, is it really adds to the flavor of it. Without it, it was crispy, which is good, but flavor-wise, it wouldn't have been quite as good without adding the extras on here. Overall, we enjoyed the whole platter, though. Over by Pipeline the Surf Coaster, they have the Scare Zone Echoes in the Glass. They had a Scare Zone over here last year with a somewhat similar theme. As you can see as I walk over here, some of these circus sideshow type characters, they had things like that last year, but they've changed the theme a little bit this year. There's a reason it's called Echoes in the Glass. We'll see why in just a minute. And it has nothing to do with Jen, but that is pretty scary. This is why the Echoes in the Glass Scare Zone name. They have a bunch of giant mirrors all along here. I don't know if they're intended to be like funhouse mirrors, but they kind of look like funhouse mirrors. They're all a little distorted. So I kind of wish I could see what the scare actors do with these mirrors, because I bet that could get pretty creepy over here when Howl-o-Scream is going on. And then if you're coming from Pipeline, they have a couple of more circus sideshow characters, the human condor and the snake lady. According to the SeaWorld Orlando website, the Echoes in the Glass scare zone is: the maze has been forgotten, but the screams have not. Beneath layers of dust and shattered reflections lies a maze of mirrors that should never have been built, each pane a portal, each twist a trap. Inside, the souls of those who entered before you remain, silent, watching, waiting. They beckon from behind the glass, begging for release, or perhaps for company. In Echoes in the Glass, your reflection may not be the only one staring back. Step carefully. Once you're inside, it's easy to lose your way, harder still to leave it behind. There is a pathway past Pipeline that would normally take you over toward the Icebreaker coaster. They had this closed last year for Howl-o-Scream, and they have it closed again this year. I can't get by here to look at anything else, but I can show you that there is a building that says Carnival. It's kind of hard to see with all the trees in the way, but I believe this is a snack place. Just looking at the building itself, having never been to the actual Howl-o-Scream event, I'm not 100% sure. Having never been to the event before, I'm not 100% sure, but it's shaped like a snack place. I believe this is probably a snack place here. And unfortunately, we can't get any closer to it because of the barricades. Out in front of Voyagers, the restaurant, they have a couple of standing room only tables, but the tables for Howl-o-Scream actually have a SeaWorld Howl-o-Scream cover on them, which I think is a nice touch. They've opened up a new food stand over to the right of the Voyager restaurant. The restaurant here is Roadkill Hot Dogs, and even though it isn't Howl-o-Scream today, they did have this open for a minute. That's obviously closed right now, but they serve Nathan's Hot Dogs. You can get a few different varieties, as well as a couple of alcoholic beverages and your Coke products. So the food was the first non-Howl-o-Scream thing that I wanted to spotlight in this video. The second thing that I want to spotlight that has nothing to do with Howl-o-Scream, after you ride Penguin Trek, you will go into a penguin exhibit. You could also, there is a separate entry straight into the penguin exhibit without having to ride Penguin Trek. So we're going to take you into that exhibit and check out the penguins. If you do ride the coaster, you miss a piece of the queue that you only see if you come in the other way. You get these screens on the wall showcasing some Arctic creatures. Inside the penguin exhibit, you can't tell on camera obviously, but the room is kept at a frigid 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Actually, we overheard a team member talking. She said that the temperature varies day to day, but it's about in the mid-20s Fahrenheit right now in here, so it's actually below freezing in this room at the moment.
And these penguins really much more. There's like 80 degrees. They love warm and cold.
Can you imagine in 32-degree temperatures swimming right now?
No, I appreciate that. If I would fall backwards, long as they don't fall into the water.
There is a plexiglass divider protecting you from the penguins, or I guess I should say protecting the penguins from jumping out. It's not very tall, so I'm really surprised that they never jump over this, but it works apparently. It also allows you to see under the water. Oh, and by the way, some of this ice that's up here is actually real in here. But we were in here earlier today. Unfortunately, I didn't have my camera handy, but there was someone over here chipping away some of the ice that was up here. So that was interesting to see. I had no idea that some of the ice was real. They have some signs around the area letting you know what some of these species of penguins are that are in this exhibit. I love in particular that the emperor penguin will stand so still, and he's so big and tall. He's very imposing even though he's not even moving. And there's another piece of the exhibit over in the corner that's very easy to walk by, but you can see a ton of the penguins over here. They like to cluster together in this area. It's just before you leave the room, so make sure you're paying attention, because if you want to see a lot of penguins, this is your best bet. And they do still have the underwater view down here as well. And then as you exit the main exhibit, you come into a just regular air-conditioned room where you can go downstairs. And if you choose to go downstairs, you can come face-to-face with a giant underwater viewing area to watch the penguins swim. I actually think we have a better view from the top of the stairs, so I think I'll stay up here and check them out from up here. The soothing music playing and just an occasional penguin swimming by, it almost feels like a screensaver. And something that's very easy to miss. In fact, I would have missed it if Jen hadn't mentioned it to me. Right to the left of the giant underwater viewing If you walk around the room to the other side, you can look through this piece of glass at a different angle on the big congregation of penguins that we saw just before we left the cold room earlier. So if you weren't happy with the view you got over there, you can get a really good view of them from here. One quick update from the Golden Seahorse gift shop that is right next to the Journey to Atlantis ride. You can see under the Golden Seahorse name it mentions gift shop and aquarium. Well, unfortunately, the aquarium portion of the shop is closed for refurbishment. We were really looking forward to going in here today too. It's kind of a shame they closed it, but I guess it always needs to be refurbished now and then. You can kind of get a little peek at some of the fish in here. Not a very good one, but hey, some fish are better than no fish. The area near Journey to Atlantis is right now the SeaWorld Spooktacular family-friendly event. They have the Scarecrow dance party over here. They have other scarecrows around the park, a bunch of big leaves hanging from the trees. You can see some more scarecrows and leaves over here. And they have this fun little photo op here with a jack-o'-lantern farmer and a crow on his arm. Right past all that, they've put up a fun little cemetery over here with some punny names on each of the tombstones. Seymour Worms, Ivana Liv, Anita Pulse, Souffle. These names are great. At the end of the walkway past that cemetery, they have this archway for the SeaWorld Spooktacular with what I like to call the Wizard of Oz trees. If you've seen the Wizard of Oz, the trees kind of look like these. Across from the gift shop heading toward Mako, they have a restaurant, the Mercado de los Muertos, where they have inside-out sliders, Philly cheesesteaks, zombie tacos, El Grito de la Muerte, which is a cocktail. They also have some bottled drinks and wines. One of the bottled brews is the Howl-o-Sour, so I'm assuming that's part of the special Howl-o-Scream menu, only available here. Here's a look at a couple of the items on the menu. They also mention the punch card, 4 and 7 punches. And right next to that is the Shots of Courage, where, true to the name, they give you one mystery shot. You roll a die, and whatever number you roll is the drink you get, and it's $11.99 regardless. I'm not one for liquor drinks, but I think I would try one of these. That's kind of a fun concept. Near Shark Wreck Reef on the way to Mako is the Widow's Nest, one of the houses here. So it's down this way toward the Shark Wreck Reef. The SeaWorld Orlando website describes the all-new Widow's Nest haunted house as: enter a decaying Victorian orphanage shrouded in cobwebs and secrets. Once a renowned seamstress, the Black Widow now lurks in the ruins of her twisted sanctuary, transformed into something far more sinister. Driven mad by grief and obsession, she spins her creations from silk and bone, stitching together a web of terror that traps all who dare to enter. As shadows slither and whispers echo through the halls, you'll soon realize this nest isn't abandoned. It's waiting. At the theater right past Mako, they have the Monster Stomp, not Monster Stomp on Ripper Row, but Monster Stomp Slasher Alley. Knowing how Busch Gardens Williamsburg's Monster Stomp has been going, I assume this has been here for quite a long time, but this one is Slasher Alley and not Ripper Row at SeaWorld. But similar to Ripper Row, right past Monster Stomp, they have Slasher Sips, which has a list of cocktails, as well as bottled brews and wines. And right next to that, even more on the nose that this is similar to Ripper Row, they have Jack the Ripper Eats. Jack the Ripper Eats has the Ripper's Revenge, Sidewinder fries. They also have Fog Bond Fang Bites. I had to say that slowly because I could not say that the first time. Vampire Blood, a cocktail, and also similar bottled brews and wines. Here's a look at the burger. and some of the other treats. Past Monster Stomp is the version of the Fanta Fright House at SeaWorld. Exactly the same as the other ones we've seen, except for it obviously says SeaWorld up in the corner. They have, I believe, the same menu as the other parks. Same prices too. Next up past the Fright House is the Scare Zone Trailer Park Tragedy. And just looking at this from a distance, I really am a big fan of the decor that they put in place here for the Scare Zone. I always appreciate when a Scare Zone has a sign introducing you to it. They actually have an old rusted trailer here. That's kind of sad. You can tell this person has kids. They put the backside up on cinder blocks. The SeaWorld Orlando website describes the all-new Trailer Park Tragedy Scare Zone as something wicked's gone down at the trailer park. Once a rowdy backwoods community on the edge of nowhere, the residents here have turned territorial and terrifying. The place is in ruins and the residents protect their home with savage vengeance. Trespassers beware, these locals don't take kindly to visitors, and they've got rusted tools, snarling beasts, and twisted sense of justice to prove it. You might stumble in, but you won't stumble out. You'll come to a fork where to the left is the Orca exhibit, to the right is a scare zone called Wood Rot Hollow. So Wood Rot Hollow is down this walkway where they have a bunch of hanging, I guess, scrim. Kind of looks like scrim in a way. Basically it looks like you're going through an old forest or swamp here. Kind of sparse decor in the daytime, but when scare actors are walking through here, I bet this one's an awesome one. There's some open areas over here that they could hide in as well, so they don't really need too much decor. There's this cool archway here. I kind of like this. The description of the all-new Wood Rot Hollow Scare Zone, according to the SeaWorld Orlando website, reads, "Deep in the heart of the festering swamp lies Wood Rot Hollow, a place where the trees weep sap like blood and the ground oozes with decay. Locals whisper of a creature made of mud, moss, and rage, protecting its home from anyone who wanders too far off the trail. Step off and you might find yourself face to face with a twisted swamp dweller. In this swamp, the only thing more suffocating than the stench is the silence before they strike. Wander in and rot with the rest." The final thing that I wanted to spotlight in this video is Expedition Odyssey, the new flying theater ride in a similar vein to Soarin' at Epcot. I'm not going to actually spotlight the ride itself, but what I am going to spotlight is the exhibit that follows the ride. As soon as you get off the ride, you enter a really great animal exhibit similar to the one we saw in Penguin Trek, but a little more elaborate. You exit the ride into this almost planetarium looking building. Looks like a base station. the middle of the Arctic. And then from there you continue on toward what looks like a sunken ship. They actually, if you happen to notice the sign on the side of it, they give you the story as to what this ship may be. Is it the HMS Erebus? Built originally in 1812, outfitted for Arctic voyage 1845. Left England in 1845 under command of Sir John Franklin in search of a northwest passage from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Never returned. All 129 hands perished. So, despite the sad story, you actually are able to make your way into the ship past this directional sign. Got all kinds of luggage and things on top of it. Like, the attention to detail here is incredible. You can actually see into the ship through the window, but it's really hard because it's a very foggy window. But you come around here. Inside the ship, if you're lucky, you can catch a trainer feeding one of the beluga whales in the water. The ship also provides some more windows into a penguin exhibit. This penguin exhibit is not the same one that we saw in Penguin Trek. That's half the park away from here, so they have more penguins in this little exhibit. You can see more pieces of the ship up there in the ice. And then now we come actually inside of the sleeping quarters slash the kitchen of the ship. They have some foods up here, a little pantry. They even have some Raisin Bran and Rice Krispies up there. And if you take the time to look all the way up at the roof, you can see some skis stored up there. But that's kind of burying the lead because actually there are walruses through these windows. So that's the main feature of here. I just was fond of the theming, that's all. But I do like this room with the walruses in it. You next make your way down a big ramp that looks pretty much like a storage shed. They're storing some Arctic travel equipment in here, some oil cans and things. They're even storing some stuff under the ramp just for extra added theming here, including their skis and some other cargo. They have some other fun little things. Time yourself for how long you can hold your breath compared to sea animals. You next enter a room with windows into the underwater view of the walrus's habitat. Of course, above there they have information about walruses. It's fun to watch this walrus swim. The room itself's a lot of fun. They have, again, good theming in here. They have a really good attention to detail in this room. They even have this desk of equipment that they're using to record the walrus sounds. And then in the same room, an underwater look at the penguins, which this one I find to be hilarious because most of them like to hover at the surface of the water, so you just see a bunch of penguin stomachs floating there. We come to another room with a big underwater tank. It's also this nice little detail in the boat. They were counting how many days they were stuck in the ice, but then it turned to weeks. And they're up to 83 as of the time they stopped counting. A little signboard of information about beluga whales and harbor seals. Just some fun little subtle details all through here. This whole room got turned upside down. That's a really good detail here, making it look like everything got flipped over. There's a fun little room that you can walk right by if you choose. You don't have to pass right through this room, but these screens in 3 different locations are little trivia games that you can sit and play. They also have little informational boards about animal skulls, measure your weight compared to other animals. They have animals in art as well. So some good information if you have the time to stop and pay attention to it. If you skip that room, you're just walking through a long hallway, though it does still feel like you're in the ship. They give you the ship ambiance in here, but there's really nothing to look at except for the ship and rock theming. If you're a fan of fake rocks, however, this is a great room. Another ramp with some equipment on the way up. So there's even a sign to let you know that your adventure continues this direction. But really all that's past here is this big sign. And then after you pass the big sign, you go into the obligatory gift shop. Many gift shops around the park sell some good Howl-o-Scream merchandise, but the Expedition Odyssey gift shop might be the best one. They have this cool display showing the 5 Years of Fear, a lot of the painted skull merchandise. They also have a big display on the wall over here. Lots of shirts, hats, glasses. A lot of it we've seen in Williamsburg, but this display is really cool. I wish the Emporium in Williamsburg could do something like this. So yeah, like I mentioned, nothing super unusual, but the display of it is really cool. Here is a quick look at the Howl-o-Scream house shirt for SeaWorld. They have all 5 of their houses on the white shirt, kind of like the one we saw at Busch Gardens, if you saw the Busch Gardens video, Busch Gardens Tampa. And then, of course, the black shirt that's kind of similar, but not exactly the same. Right past the gift shop is Collector's Curse, one of the houses here. You would go right under Icebreaker on this path here. Unfortunately, I can't get anywhere close to it because they have barricades out here, but go toward Icebreaker if you're looking for Collector's Curse. The SeaWorld Orlando website describes the all-new Collector's Curse haunted house as step inside a lavish estate turned house of horrors where a mysterious host known as the Collector lures guests with rare relics and ancient artifacts. But this estate sale hides a sinister secret, one that pulls you deep into a twisted underworld of cursed creations and monstrous mutations. Outside of Expedition Odyssey, there's a little bit of a Howl-o-Scream decoration. They have the Unfortunate restaurant here, where you can get some Asian-inspired food, including the teriyaki chicken, the creepy California roll, dangerous pork egg roll, a Black Widow cocktail, and some alcoholic beverages, some beers and seltzers. Here's a look at the teriyaki chicken and a few other items. They also have, beyond that, the Tormented Bar, which has a couple of spooky things that are covered up out in front of it. This is basically just a bar, though. They do have a stage farther back in there, but other than that, it's pretty much your standard bar, just spookified for Howl-o-Scream. And they have a frozen Howl-o-Scream logo right out in front of this, too. Going past Expedition Odyssey toward Sesame Street Land, you come to another haunted house, Raveyard. I believe it's probably partially inside of this building here where the tarp is pointing you toward Expedition Odyssey, but not fully inside of there. Part of this house is outside, behind this Howl-o-Scream tarp. You can kind of see over the fence here. It does look a lot like a graveyard. I'm guessing this is kind of similar in nature to the Disc Grotesque Scare Zone at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, based on the name. You can see the front here. You can see a graveyard, a cemetery gate that says Raveyard on there. So we can actually get pretty close to this one, but we can't get any closer than this because they put up a big fence. But just from looking at the top of the decorations, it looks pretty cool in there. The description of the all-new Raveyard haunted house, according to the SeaWorld Orlando website, is: buried deep in the shadows of a forgotten cemetery, a sinister underground rave pulses with life, or rather unlife, as the bass reverberates through crumbling tombstones and mausoleums glow with neon light. The dead rise with one purpose: to party forever. The music never stops, the dead never rest, and if you're not careful, you'll be dancing with the damned for eternity. Passing the Dockside Pizza Co., you come to another house, Farm 51, which you can tell just from the logo that this involves a farmhouse and an alien abduction. It's kind of difficult to tell exactly where the entrance to this house is because there is a restaurant here. So without it actually being Howl-o-Scream, I'm not entirely sure where you would go to actually get to this house, but somewhere in this general area. The Farm 51 haunted house is described as, according to the SeaWorld Orlando website, it was supposed to be just another empty field, but when you stumble upon a crumbling farmhouse deep in the backwoods, the silence feels wrong. The corn sways without wind, the static in the air crawls up your spine, and then you hear them. Something has crash-landed, something not of this world, and it's not here to make peace. Step back inside Farm 51, a haunted house infested with the terrifying aftermath of an extraterrestrial encounter. Are you brave enough to investigate, or will you become the next experiment? And then right past Farm 51 is the Water's Edge Wellness Center haunted house. Surprisingly, this is one of the few houses that has a big, obvious sign, a pretty impressive sign. And if you notice in this shot, it is just outside of Sesame Street land. So it's a funny dichotomy here. Sesame Street, horror house. Sesame Street, horror house. I'm assuming the house itself is through these gates out here, which are closed during the daylight hours. Actually, the Farm 51 entrance could also be through this gateway since these two are so close together. If you've been to SeaWorld Orlando's Howl-o-Scream and you've done houses that are in this area, let me know if they have two houses that are both through this gate. According to the SeaWorld Orlando website, the Water's Edge Wellness Center is described as: nestled at the edge of the misty, foreboding Central Lake, the Water's Edge Wellness Center once promised serenity and rejuvenation. Today it stands as a chilling reminder of a past shrouded in mystery and dark secrets. Prepare yourself for an unforgettable journey into the macabre, where the line between the living and the dead is blurred, and the horrors of the past come to life. Will you escape unscathed, or will you become another lost soul within the haunted halls of the Water's Edge Wellness Center? The Mako gift shop is another place to get a lot of Howl-o-Scream merchandise. They actually call it the Howl-o-Scream Orlando store. And here they have a couple of nice big banners hanging up in the store for Howl-o-Scream. And they also have all of this merchandise. Interesting to see some Jack merchandise too. I guess Jack is an icon here as well. So that was our look at SeaWorld Orlando's Howl-o-Scream event in the daytime, as well as a couple of updates including the new ride. The scare zones that we were able to access are looking really good. They have some great props. It's really impressive that they have so much new here for this year after only this being the 5th year of the event. We also were excited to check out the brand new Expedition Odyssey Flying Theater ride. So we were also surprised. We had no idea that there was a giant exhibit after you exit that ride. That was a fun look at the animals, including the walruses, the beluga whales, the penguins. Had a lot of fun checking that out. If you enjoyed this look at SeaWorld Orlando, we'd appreciate if you'd give the video a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Every like and subscribe is a big help to the channel. Also, please be sure to check out our Instagram page appearing over Jen's head right now. Right below that is our Threads handle. And then right beneath Jen is our email address. Please be sure to email us any questions, comments, concerns, constructive criticism. We read all of them and we appreciate any feedback that you give. So, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for watching, but the fun's not over yet. Click the box in front of my face for another fun video, or click my tree to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss another video.